Hello, hello.
Hello,
GM,
hello.
GM, guys.
How's it going?
Good to be here.
This time connection is great, isn't it?
Hear me okay? See me okay?
Perfect.
Good.
Four times the charm?
Yeah, exactly. But it was such a great discussion even last time with all the things going around. But hopefully, technology won't ditch us today. So, before we proceed, let's have a round of introduction. Most of you are known faces. Actually, all of you are known faces, but still, some of new guys might be there. So please.
I'll go.
Lead off, Will.
Go ahead. Will McCann, co-founder and CEO of EnviroBlock, and we are rewarding users for providing their home's environmental data, so we can help them monitor and maintain it, help them cut down on costs over time, and also turn their data into opportunities with like manufacturers for ventilation supplier, utility providers, things like that down the line. So very early, but very excited.
Awesome.
I can go ahead. Hi, everybody. My name is Robin, co-founder, CEO at Wingbits. And essentially what we do with Wingbits is building a global flight tracking network where our participants host these antennas around the globe, capture the airplane signal, and we have a performance-based incentive model. So the more data you collect, the better you do. And we then sell the data to all kinds of companies within aviation for analytics, financial, insurance, and so on. Really happy to be here with all these awesome projects.
Awesome, Pravin. I think
Cool.
within space of 2 months we are
Yeah,
meeting.
so
Go ahead, Pablo.
I'm new to the group, so yeah, you guys don't know me. I know Will, but the rest of you don't know me. So my name is Jesse Harper. I'm the CMO at Fry Networks. I joined the company all of 10 days ago, so I'm getting up to speed and drinking from the fire hose as fast as humanly possible. Here at Fry, we've got a diverse fleet of location-specific miners, so weather sensors, radiation detectors, bandwidth monitors, each one having its own micro network with its own reward mechanisms and its own data schema. And we couple that all up in a unified token incentive with Fry. So shared data pipeline, licensing framework, and the rest. My background, I'm an IoT hardware guy. So that's most of what I've done for the last way too long. I won't admit how old I am. So
Awesome.
happy to be here.
Did we lose Yog?
I think
He froze.
it's frozen. You
Yeah,
okay?
it's
You over
frozen. Who wants to be the moderator?
there?
No, but it is like what you said, Harper. This is actually the first time we met Will and Harper, so it's exciting to hear about your projects. It's pretty cool. I've read up a little bit before to EnviroBlock. I like it a lot. But Harper, I would love to chat more with you about what you guys are doing. I think that's really interesting as well.
Yeah, we can go offline and geek out. Yeah, and I love what Will's got in EnviroBlock. I've been familiar with that one for a bit. Super cool stuff he's building out over there.
Welcome back,
And
Yog.
we're also talking on the back end too, so very cool.
Yep.
Awesome, and maybe I jinxed the technology, but it's okay. It can happen. So, so today's topic we are actually discussing about culture, right? Let's start with simple question. Like you must have already observed great culture in some of the projects, right? Started obviously with either hardcore backing, like what we have seen in Ripple and with Bitcoin and Ethereum specifically in the early days, and later it actually become more prominent in some meme coins, right? So, what do you think is your ideal project where you have observed great culture in terms of DePIN or any other project? And yeah, let's be just project specific, example specific, so that everybody can understand, and that also helps a lot of founders to emulate some of the good things you guys are doing and other projects are doing. So yeah, welcome, Warlord.
So for coming late, how's
Yog,
everyone doing?
good, are you, man?
All great, doing great, doing great.
Yog, who do you want to go first? You gotta assign a person.
You obviously.
Me. Well, I'm actually
Yeah.
probably the worst one to start because my background is was not Web3. So I built multiple businesses in the past, all traditional. So I'm not super familiar with the culture in many projects. But what I have seen, I'm obviously a little biased. I do like the culture we've built at Wingbits, and I think it really stems from having the right priorities as a team. Understanding the value of the community you have, caring for the community, doing right by the community, and having a very tightly managed community. So our community head of community, Mike, he's been with us from day one pretty much, and he's awesome. Like, he is super helpful. He goes above and beyond to kind of manage the community, stays positive. I think that's super important, but also adding a lot of transparency, because building a company is really hard. And I think people are understanding of the struggles if you communicate properly and you tell them, like, hey, we got to make a change and this is why. You explain it properly. Hey, we're having an issue, this is what we're doing to fix it. Having constant communication, and then that attracts the people that kind of want to be in a community of that sort, that are also helpful. So our entire network of people help each other and is very supportive. I know, Dark Virus, he's in our community. He's been there a long time, super, super supportive. So I like our community. I think not really thanks to me, but thanks to Mike and our team, and kind of our priorities of community first creates that culture, because the culture is going to get super toxic super fast if you don't treat them right. That's my
Absolutely.
little take.
This is brilliant point. Brilliant point, mate. And the fact that you build companies in Web 2, you are almost emulating that. But in Web 3, what happens is that um, participants are not consumers. They are very much like closer to the project than in a Web 2 environment. How many times we will be in a Telegram group with say a bank?
Exactly.
We won't be, right? Even though we are using them regularly. But I take your point, Robin, when you said, and I was speaking to one of our team member once when he was slightly annoyed with a support question. I said that if you ask everybody what is the best support you received from any company who has sorted your issues out, you will look at the core is that there must be some issue first,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So that means when there is a problem happens, then you have a chance to win back the
Yeah.
customer. That's why support is really important, right? Because if I ask like, which is the best company, which is the best airline you will say, oh yeah, this airline. Why? Oh, once I lost my baggage, but they were so prompt doing this and then that. So everything starts
No
with
problem.
one problem
Yeah.
with that. So yeah, so I like that approach. And I haven't met Mike, but yeah, big
Yeah.
shout out to him. So these are the guys who keeping like community closer, and then as like people frontline community, which is like people like Dark Virus, they take the message across
Yeah.
to everybody else,
Yeah.
right?
But I mean,
So
it's
those are things
I
important.
guess it's you can't hide from the people, like, they're right there, they have direct access. You get a really quick feedback back loop. Like, we release updates all the time, and a lot of times something's broken. Maybe we should do some more testing, but if it's not a crucial piece, like, sometimes we just push, and it breaks, and right away the community is like, oh, this doesn't work. So it's an amazing feedback loop, but it does require you to really put in the extra effort to do the right thing, because you don't hide behind 100 layers of things.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Question
Robin.
goes to Will.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
the
go ahead. I was just
for
going to comment on
community.
Robin, but I'll wait.
So good. Okay. The I really have to highlight. I'm what you would call probably an IoTeX maxi. That's who I know the most of that whole community, and that's really what got us started in the first place. It started as just a small investor, liked what they were doing, was getting introduced to blockchain and Web3, and this whole, like, in the future, robots and machines are all going to be using our data. We should be rewarded for that. That whole premise. So, but once the idea for EnviroBlock came on, it started with the Halo grant, which, kudos to IoTeX for even starting the Halo grant to put that out there to get people to start ideas. But, they've literally held our hands the entire way for the last, 2.5 years on the technical side, using their Pebble for data collection just as a proof of concept device. So we've really tried to emulate a lot of that kind of community feel in what we're doing. And right now it's, focused on homeowners and property owners. So, we're not per se encroaching on their property, but it does require some sort of trust and transparency with providing photos of their property and things like that. So everything we've tried to do is be as completely transparent as possible. Same thing to Robin, like you don't want to hide behind layers of anything. Like we're in a completely vulnerable state, and it's very cool to have community members, just like Robin mentioned, like, hey, this page is broken, or hey, you need to fix this type thing. And it's not someone bashing you in a negative light. It's truly people trying to help you move forward and grow. So that's been the most important and most rewarding aspect so far, because unless you have a community, you're not going to make it more than 1 or 2 cycles. Your token's going to get manipulated and pumped and dumped, and you're gone. So we're in this for the long term, and that's the only way to do it, is to have that community trust.
If you observe early, I mean, if community wasn't there for Ripple, I think they are a dead project, right? By now. I mean, with that much of difficulty, people would look for alternative, right? But this community actually still, this community, this guy has got all the devices there. And this community actually stood by like thick and thin of things. That's why this is such an amazing example, and I keep highlighting these guys, not because like I'm so impressed by the tech or something, but the community actually stood by them, and there were more positive news about Ripple in their worst days than not, right? Which is really good. Like people were backing them, people were telling them that they should be the benchmark of like how we shouldn't regulate, and then eventually it looks like if everything goes well, it's going to be smooth. And yeah, so same question goes to Harper.
Sure. So, for me, I see culture in DePIN as the connective tissue. It's the why behind the what. It's not just community, but it's our shared narratives, it's our values, it's that identity that gives people a reason to build in mind and stay through the dips. Most of us, the cool thing about DeFi, which I'm big in DeFi too, but that's like this ethereal ever tokens. We actually have physical products here. We're physically interacting with the world, which is just, I'm not an engineer personally, but it makes me feel like I'm contributing to that culture, and that's a cool thing for me. And I think with all that culture, DePIN's become mercenary. You attract extractors instead of contributors. And the nice thing, strong culture, is that it's a defense against negative narratives. So it builds that trust and belief, and it's the best hedge when the market goes south on you. And it gets your people to still stay around and believe in what you're doing and continue to help you build it forward. So it's about bringing the miners in and building with them, not just building for them. And so that's important to me.
Who wants to go next? Dark Virus? No.
Much road noise.
It's good.
Okay,
Well,
yeah,
Lord,
so
please.
what's the question? So like I have good understanding.
Yeah, so basically, we were exploring some of the projects that have implemented culture in DePIN or any crypto
Yeah.
project in a better way, and what to learn from them. So if you have someone to highlight
Okay.
some project and or your own experience with Net
Okay, yeah,
Sapiens,
yeah. I
please.
mean, definitely. I mean, as an NFT maxi and someone a big believer in NFT, right? I feel like NFTs to date have like the strongest community, right? Being having experienced like a whole bear market, right? And we have contributors, people that still believe in the project, right? Take up Pudgy Penguin as well. I mean, everyone should be familiar with the project, right? Having been able to rug at that point, having bought the company, right? Just like carrying the community through like a whole story, a whole feedback loop where they're able to experience and be part, actively contribute to the growth of this NFT token, whatever the case may be. So I think Poetry Penguins for me is like a real definition of what culture is and how culture and community will be able to take the project far more than the utility or whatever the case, right? I feel like the community and the culture that the project has is what is like the extra push, it's like the catalyst, because we all know that we are in a utility saturated space, right? I mean, whatever you're doing, someone else is doing it. So now what makes you different is the culture. What makes you different is what is the community, what is actually being done, what are you guys standing for, what's the story behind it. And Project Penguins, for me personally, I feel like they're literally hitting all nails, right? They are ticking all boxes, right? They have a very strong community. They're everywhere. They have very good. Would I say they're also like, it's also like the project also supporting abstract. So we all know that they're everywhere as well. They are doing big things. They also have a token which is actually doing pretty good, right? From the looks of it. So I would say, yeah, for me, it's Project Penguin. They understand the culture, they've implemented it, and they also have, and that's what have given them that extra leverage to actually go above and beyond other NFT projects out there. Yeah.
That's actually that's
That
actually
is
super
brilliant.
interesting because like for me who's coming from like this industry is super foreign to me. So like when I look at NFTs, I'm just like,
Mm.
what is going on? You know, and my team members tell me all the time, yeah, you need to be more degen. It's like I get it, but I'm just in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I want to treat the people right, and
Mhm.
I want to generate a lot of demand on the utility side, and those two things long term will create a good sustainable project. But I do agree, like with some like Project Penguin, for example. I mean, it's interesting how the community kind of just rallies behind that. Because for me, I have a hard time understanding it, to be honest. Because I'm like, what is the purpose of these NFTs? But it's definitely something I need to study a lot more and understand because there's definitely something there.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree. I think what makes them so tight boundedly, like what brings them together, it's more of the story. They've been able to they understand the journey, right? Anyone, if you would understand the journey of how penguins came to where they are right now, I bet you that you would also have that kind of zing and believe that okay, yeah, these people have. You also want to be part of that momentum. You also want to be part of that story. So I feel like more or less, it's more about the story behind that actually builds the oneness, the bondness that makes up the community, which would like withstand the bear markets, the bull markets, regardless. So yes.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
Could it be also that some of the project, when they're facing some adversaries, right, that brings the community together, and when that happens, those are the strongest of community you will get. Like I was giving the example of the support, right? That something wrong happened, then you tend to get that your relationship with that company little higher, right? So I have observed that with some of the NFT projects for sure, and Ripple is one of the example. Pudgy Penguin is like there were difficulties, and post that difficulties, that just brought the community together. Of recent, this one I'm impressed by Peak Polygon. I would highlight some of the commonality between these projects. I really liked how the founders go extra mile in engaging with the community. That often didn't happen in a Web2 world, right? Um, how many times you will see the Web2 CEO is going to engage with anyone, right? So what I liked with Sandeep, for example, he's all the time engaging in Twitter with everybody now X. Same with Leo and Max from Peak. They're all the time engaging. I've seen that with Robin. I've seen, so these are the things which makes the community feel that um, they're given value, and and here is a founder who's trying to be as transparent as possible without compromising some of the things before, and and often also take the negative sentences in their stride, and still put a brave face, right? So that culture, I'm seeing it specifically in Web3 more actively. And in Web2, there are some of the guys like Elon Musk is doing for X, and Tesla very actively, but you see very less examples. Like Jeff Bezos don't get into social media and engage with people, right? For example, right? So that I liked a few. So you want to highlight some of such projects where you see that some of the internal culture also boils down to their external engagement with the community.
I mean, I agree with you on Peak. I think their founders are very active and very open. Um, we're not building on Peak, but I like them a lot. I like their vision. I think everything they're doing is really really cool. So big kudos to Leo, Max, and their whole team. We're obviously partnered with GeoNet. I think they're doing a good job. I think what they're really good at is building a business. So they're taking good care of their miners. I don't know how active Mike is on social media. Not as active, maybe, but I think they're still pretty open, especially in the Discord server. Feel like I see you guys doing a lot of stuff with FarmScent. I think the vision of FarmScent is admirable and cool. So I hope it goes really really well. But I think as a DePIN project, you kind of have to. I think the DePIN projects that would do really well are the ones that have kind of an open door policy and are transparent and are available, because it's just we talked about that early on at Wingbits, and I have to say I'm less in our Discord server now than I was in the beginning, mainly because I have so much to do. But that's why we try to do the live stages every month and get people to come in and ask questions. It's not scripted, because I think if you lose that, then you lose touch with the community, what they're asking for, what they want, and how they feel. And luckily we have Mike, who's there 20 hours a day, it's seeming. But I think if you completely disconnect from your community as a founder, eventually you will kind of lose touch with what they want and what they need, and probably have a much bigger chance of failing.
Yeah, and great point, Robin. That's one reason since the very beginning, and still today, and hopefully I can do this forever, but for every new user, I'm the one that personally welcomes them. I send them a welcome email, welcome to the project. I'm in the Telegram, I'm IO Texan, so anytime people are seeing that. So that I feel that's crucial right now. Like we won't survive unless we have that founder presence. My co-founder Chuck, he's very much on the back end, and lets me be the face, which I take wholeheartedly, and love to do. But that's been crucial and very important since the very beginning. Is I wanted people, because they're investing money, they're buying a device, they're hoping that this at least gets their money back over time, but even more than that, they're buying into our vision over time and wanting to support our project. So at the very least, I can be open and in that communication line. But it starts with that welcoming, and I value that very much.
Awesome. I have seen there are a lot of projects that got kickstarted with these airdrops and such campaigns, right? So sometimes what happens when you are addressing someone that is part of multiple communities, the other project is giving a lot of airdrops and a lot of incentives, whereas you probably don't have too much to offer. So how do you think you can bring a culture that into your community and rallies behind you?
Well, I think yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna let Harper go since he didn't go on the last question.
Harper, fire away.
Maybe he's
You might not be able to
frozen.
hear us. Yeah.
Go ahead, Will.
No, I was gonna say, because that's a great point. And there are a lot of people, if they have that opportunity, if your project is set up to be a quick extraction, that's exactly what the community is going to do. If they don't see a long-term vision, if they don't see any kind of business opportunity or any kind of anything, they're going to view you as, what can I extract as fast as possible? And we haven't moved as fast as we have liked, and I'm sure the community has liked. And that's mainly because we're not VC backed. We've been bootstrapping this whole thing, but the main thing is we wanted to make sure that we didn't get out too much in front of ourselves. One, before we were ready, but two, before we even knew what we were doing, so that the community could see that full trust. And like I said before, it's a long-term play, and unless you have that set up, and unless you have that from the very beginning, that community built in, then you are just going to be an extraction play, and that's going to be your entire project.
Yeah, I mean, I think from my end, and I'm speaking from limited knowledge, since I hadn't done projects with airdrops before. When I think about, like, if I need to do airdrops simply to attract people into the community, those are probably not the right people for our specific community. Not saying they're not right in general, but for our community, I don't think they're the right ones. And also, you have, I'm really careful about what we do with the tokens, because I think if a token given out doesn't get some value back to the project, then it's a kind of almost a wasted token in a sense. So that's why I've been kind of careful with airdrops. We haven't done any, actually. And if we did an airdrop, I would prefer it be to the people that are actually contributing already as a bonus, versus like someone that just wants to get some tokens as a quest or whatever. But I agree with Will. Like, if you can prove that, okay, look, there's an actual use case for what we're doing. This can be an actual business. This is our vision. This is our, kind of showing traction, showing that you deliver over time. Showing great partnerships, showing that you have customers. Then I think you over time are going to attract the people that believe in that. When we first started, we had a lot of what I would say like tinker community that liked the tech of tracking planes, and that was the best community because they were super tech savvy. They loved messing around with it. Yeah, Dark Virus is pointing at himself. So we grew really organically. We really didn't do any marketing until maybe a year in, like nothing. It was all word of mouth, and I think that gave us a really solid network, and it didn't explode, which gave us time to figure out, because we made several mistakes. Like in the initial model we have, you bought your hex. We realized quickly, okay, this is a terrible model. We have to change it. And then you go in, like, all these people join on this model. You have to change it. You have to explain why. Then we moved away from build your own devices to a really expensive device. We're like, well, how do we do this? Because we got a lot of customer feedback that a better device would actually be much more commercially available. And so I think we ended up giving away $50,000 worth of these little upgrade dongles for the existing people, because we thought, if you join on some terms, we can't just like take those terms away and kick you out. We got to grandfather you in, and then we move, kind of transition over time with the new people. So yeah, a long answer to that airdrop question, but I think maybe airdrops is not the right way to go for your specific project.
And I definitely agree. Just to circle back, once our initial airdrops do go out, they're going out to our existing data miners, our OG miners, and then the people that have been staking with our ILTEX node. Because that's been what's been enabling us to bootstrap this whole time. So those are the two groups that are going to get the thank yous for helping us get this far. Yeah.
Harper want to go next?
I don't know if it's working.
Maybe.
Yeah, sorry, my connection.
Maybe internet is
very
really
bad weather, and it's bouncing in and out. So.
Yeah, it's cool. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I may have to switch devices if this keeps up. I'll just pop to a phone or whatever. But we got really bad weather here, and it's like being a mess. So anyway, I can hear everything you guys are saying, and I totally agree. And I think we can buy attention with tokens, but we can't buy loyalty. And that's the mistake. And so I'm not a big fan of airdrops either. And I do think that having that transparency, like Robin, you talked about, different changes you had to make in tokenomics along the way and pivots. Having that transparency and that access to the founder with the community is really important in order to maintain that culture and that trust. So 100% agree with what you guys are saying.
And Robin, kudos to Robin and Wingbits for giving their original miners. I know that was a big expense, giving them the upgraded miners, but the trust that built in those original people will more than pay off, because they could have all said, man, screw y'all, and left the project.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like if it was me joining the project, how would I want it to be handled? And I was like, I think it's fair if I would have been allowed to continue and didn't have to spend extra money. because like without the initial, I think we gave away 2,000 of those geosigners. Um, Without them, we wouldn't have even been at the point to get, we
Exactly.
raise money and get customers and all that. So, yeah, it was expensive, but I mean, it was like never really a question of not doing it. It was just
Yeah.
like we thought that was the right way to go.
Very cool.
That's cool. Our guys were deploying with the one with GeoDNet and the
Nice.
dual one, and yeah,
Yeah.
experience was good, easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't complex. They were
Yeah.
speaking high about it. They had to block the
The hex.
what do you call the area
Yeah.
first, the hex, and then yeah, but it was
Yeah.
still smooth. They were saying yeah,
I mean, it's okay.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
there's
good.
we have like a list of 5,000 things we need to, do. I would not come here and say the onboarding process is the best it could be, because it's not. There's still like confusion. Some steps are not clear. They get this extension code so they can extend so they don't lose the area while they wait for the device. I mean, there's many things we know we need to fix. But so I really appreciate all the people sticking with us while we're obviously having these minor growing pains, I'd say. But I'm glad I got it working.
Yeah, no, it's also important. Like when I know that, I mean, user experience in Web3 generally is lacking, right? It is complex. It's not that the approach it's skipping user experience. It's complex because systems are not designed from beginning with an user experience in mind, right? Slowly we are getting into, like we launched a few weeks back a super app for our farmers with wallet abstraction, because we just didn't want them to remember the seed
Yeah.
phrase and stuff, right? But if on-chain account abstraction wasn't there, then there is no way we could
Yeah.
implement this. We would have to probably try to do a very easy looking model of metamask, but that's still not sufficient for the user. So right now we say you don't have to add network, we add it for you. You don't have to add token, we add it for you. You don't have to remember seed phrase, you just log in through your email. So it almost mimics like of a
Yeah.
web 2 app, right? Even when we are giving the receipt, it's not that you're getting a scan link, right? The receipt we are giving is like money has gone out
Yeah.
or has come in. This much has gone, this is the dollar. So it's so clear for the farmers. And for the advanced users, here we have given like in bottom, yeah, you can also check on the explorer, so you know that we
Yeah.
are telling truth. Yeah, let me just get a high call from my mom. I don't reject her call. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know, Will and Harper and Warlord, like, what
Mhm.
the one thing I've noticed is, actually there's a few challenges building like a business in Web3. One is, if you take a traditional Web2 company, you raise money, it usually takes, 5 to 8 years to scale to a revenue and you just reach the scale that you really need. But in Web3, there's the combination of you have to launch your token. Well, if you launch your token prematurely and you have not scaled the business, it's really bad, because especially if you have a buyback and burn mechanism, you don't have any revenue. When you launch a token, you have no revenue. So here you have to actually, it's almost like you have a marketplace that you have to really balance. You can't focus too much on either side, because then one side suffers. You have the sales, you have the demand side you have to focus on and do really well. You have the community side you have to focus on and do really well. And then in between that, you have to figure out, okay, well, all these exchanges that you want to list on, what they value is counter opposite of what you value as a business. And then you have to try to tie all that together into something that's good. So it's actually very challenging, way more challenging than building all the other businesses I built in the past, because then it's just like straightforward. You build this and you do this. Here is a lot of balance, so it's really fun, but it's definitely challenging.
Yeah.
And
Just okay.
especially especially the
Mhm.
current set of what you guys have been building. Yeah, there is also a sprinkle of regulatory challenges. So the entire thing messes up, right? So you have to manage this new age community that wanted to be communicated on an urgent basis and not through a PR. Then you have these regulators that it's like, I'll tell you if you are making a mistake,
Yeah.
by putting you in jail. right? And then the other side, you have these so early exchanges and all those who have adopted to actually look at the fees exchange listing and stuff like, liquidity market makers, and those is challenging for any founders, so I really salute those who have already navigated. But when I was looking at it, I'm like, why would somebody do that much stress for launching a token? That should be making it easier for him, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
please.
Okay,
Will,
I would
if
want
you
to go first because my take is that I mean not every project would need a token, and that's for one. That take is highly. I think much people need to go with that narrative. If there's no real use for a token, if you don't have like the compounded value of the community, the users to actually launch a token, then regardless of the situation, regardless of if it's a bull market, your token is going to dump, right? I feel like understanding how the business work, how your business works, what point you are at in the business, what's your users, like understanding human behavior, psychology as well would go a long way, right, to take your token to where it should be. Because then, if you launch a token prematurely, it's going to fail, right? And that's the thing. Most projects I've seen launch tokens are highly unnecessary, and that's one thing that we need to. That's a narrative we need to push further, right? As founders, as builders, regardless, is that not every project will need a token. You don't need a token to be Web3, right? You don't need a token to actually take your project to where it should be, right? I mean, a token can come much later, but it's never urgent, right? It's never something. It's never a milestone to meet, right? It's never is a milestone, and that's what I've seen a lot in this space. Projects launch their token, it doesn't do well, or it does well and then it dumps. So I mean, it's and like you said, it's unnecessary pressure having to deal with spams, people message you for listing. So it's just unnecessary pressure in my opinion, right? I feel like if yeah, a token should be pushed. A token launch, a TGE should be pushed until extremely necessary, right? If it's not top priority at the moment, then I feel like it could always be pushed further. It's that you could always do it tomorrow. It's that kind of thing that yeah, you could always do it tomorrow. I feel like it's highly not necessary. Building the value, the community, the experience of your project, it's what's the most essential, right? It's what will even fuel the token. So I mean that all those three things, all the stars should basically align before we obviously come into like launching a token, right? A token launch should is highly unnecessary at some point, right? It's never something that is so demanding, right? Because then once you launch and it fails, it just puts more stress on you. You take away more bandwidth is needed because you have a token, right? It takes away the bandwidth that you'd have put into making a good experience, a good community, a good product. It takes away that bandwidth, and now you're focused on the token, right? So it's quite unnecessary in my opinion, if not highly essential. I feel like it's something that should always be postponed until like the final point, right, where you say, okay, yes, we need to launch this. So I mean, it's highly. I wouldn't want to put the pressure on any project or anybody that they should really launch it to, because trust me, it does a lot to you. It does a lot to you mentally if you're not like strong enough. Trust me. We've launched a token with Siren AI, and I think over the period of like 3 days, I aged about 30 years because yeah, I mean, it was a lot launching a token. So it's a lot of pressure, unnecessary pressure, especially when you don't have like the base foundation to actually support that token. Then, regardless if you launch it or not, regardless how much funding you have, it's going to break if there's not like a proper foundation for that token to like rest upon and actually do well, right? So yeah, that's just my take for what Robin said.
100%.
Yeah, we were fortunate because we're still rewarding in
Yeah,
it.
I totally agree.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Go ahead. We're choppy, Will. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd say we're fortunate because we've been rewarding in the IoTeX token. So, for 2.5 years, we've been able to build and learn and grow and pivot, without using our own token and screwing our own tokenomics, because had we launched our own token 2 years ago, it already dumped and we'd be dead, So that's something I've really encouraged anybody trying to start a DePIN project or a project in Web3 is, if you've got a proof of stake blockchain that you're building on, if you can at all become a validator node for that parent blockchain and get that revenue circling, and you can use that kind of as an early rewards mechanism like we have. It's got us running for 2.5 years now. And that, again, you can learn and grow and focus on your business. Good point, Warlord. And you don't get distracted with all these tokenomics and people trying to sabotage your project. So that if you can, that's an opportunity, and you're thinking about starting a project, I would highly suggest becoming a node on whoever you're building on top of.
Do you think projects need to also explore like giving rewards in the ecosystem tokens rather than everybody creating their own token? Because there is a possibility that some of the projects can actually because not launching a token is not a choice. When you are having you're having some contributors coming, how would you incentivize them, right? So you definitely need to have a token, right? Whether you are giving through a third party token like in a stablecoin reward, or you could fall back into your ecosystem token. For example, people who are working on, say, Solana could possibly give the reward in Solana, or people who are working on Peak could give that could be some of the arrangements. Like, I think these are the thought will come now, because um, it was almost easier to launch tokens in a couple of years back, right? So we are facing a lot of OPEX issues right now. Launching a token right now is like you're paying some of the mandatory operating expenses, which are like hire the market makers, with multiple market makers with so much of exchanges, and then you are keeping an eye on liquidity. You are incentivizing them to put liquidity. Then you're looking at communities pumps and dumps all the time. These are the things which really, like, founders should be focusing on building the product itself and the services around it, or they will be focusing on things which were brought by only launching the token, which wasn't existing otherwise, right? So do you see that such things can come forward, such hybrid models
I mean,
moving
I
forward?
guess my take is usually the challenge when you start a business, is the whole cold start problem. You don't have any money. But if you look at Spexy, for example, they do the drone imagery. They've been rewarding their areas in USD or USDC. I don't know, one of them, and that works really well. I think especially if you have a project where it depends on your business case. In their example, a customer goes in and says, "Hey, we need this specific area mapped. We will pay X dollars to get this area mapped." Then you can assign a price for that area that matches, and they still make some money, right? So then it makes total sense to spend that. If you have a project, like in our case, we knew from day one that revenue was directly correlated with scale of network. So we didn't know how long it was going to take to reach that scale, but we needed to reward the people from day one. So obviously we're in testnet, so it's going to be a one-to-one conversion when we reach mainnet. So I think it can work if you raise a really big round instantly. Like let's say you're an accomplished founder, you've had several successful projects before, you raise a massive round, maybe it actually makes sense to reward in either the token of where you're building or the USDC. And I think there's going to be some hybrids. I think, maybe what we see from Spexy, I don't know how they're going to do, but I know they'll have a token at some point. I think maybe they'll do a hybrid approach at least to transition, or maybe they stay at a hybrid approach. So I don't think it's out of the question. When we're onboarding more and more customers, and in the future we feel like we have a strong demand side, maybe there's an option for a hybrid model. I don't know. I think you just have to think carefully about it. So you don't, I think it's not a decision to take lightly, changing that model in the middle of things.
Yeah. I would say it all comes down to, you're rewarding these people to buy into your project, and it's that value that they're seeing that has them either interested in kind of, making some kind of revenue, passive income, or they're supporting you regardless of what they're making, because they just believe in your project. But I mean, Robin nailed it. If you've got early backing, then yeah, you can afford to pay out in your parent tokens, or your parent blockchain's token or USDC or whatever. If you're bootstrapping, you got to get kind of creative with it. And again, like that was the best thing we ever did, was become a node for Enviroblock, for IoTeX, because I remember the early days, we didn't even know how we were going to do it, how we were going to reward people long term. I was just paying people out of my own IoTeX in the early days, and then a couple months in, we were like, let's just become a node, and that revenue has literally enabled us to make it 2.5 years. Now, what it also does is it caps kind of your potential, right? So we're like right at our break even point where everything we're making as a node is going right back out, so we're basically capped at our growth, which is why we're now at that transition point of need to launch our token. But the good thing is we've had that 2.5 years of experience and really, really honing in on our vision and really having that time to think about our tokenomic structure so that it can make it long term,
Yeah. And if I can add one more thing, I think it also depends on what you foresee your token being used for in the future.
Yep.
I think one thing that we're not there yet, but one thing that I think is extremely important is that if the only value you get from the token is the price of the token, you're in a dangerous territory, because then you live or die by that. If the token gives you access to do many other things in the ecosystem that add value to you, not so much the dollar cost, that's what I think you need to try to diversify where people get value from. So, we want to add, we're working on now, which we can announce it, so I can't say who it is, but we have multiple partnerships that will be on the website where you can actually convert your tokens for things that would actually be valuable for you. And then those tokens converted will be burned, so it benefits everybody. But again, I think we have a long way to go, but I think you need to figure out how to diversify where community members get value from.
Great point.
Good. Very good. Harper, want to add something to it?
I think the weather's messing with me.
Sure. Now I switched over to my ISO's garbage working. I was just going to say, I totally agree with what folks were saying. Warlord, also, building the code and the product in the company first before focusing on tokenomics, and that you don't get a token. And Will, at Enviroblock, you're a perfect of that. Like, you guys focused in on what you were good at and what you needed to build, and as the background, and now you're at that evolution. You can now take that next step, subject to all of those markers that you can't control, because there's so much to it, between liquidity and where you're going to put it, and faith in the core product itself, even what the token is, and it becomes very muddy. So, Warlord, I thought you made a great point, and they're gonna.
I lost your audio, Harper.
Sorry. I think I'm just
We
going to
caught most of it.
I lost the last part. If you could repeat it.
I don't remember what I was saying at this point. I'm so frustrated.
That's a good thing.
Harper, that has literally been me every time I've been on here. So no worries, man.
Yeah. Warlord wants to extend that.
No, not really. I forgot the question that was being passed around. So yeah, anyone could jog my memory. That would be cool.
Awesome. Now I'll go back to the culture.
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you think with the way the DePIN projects are engaging these days, do you think that we need to have, from founders' perspective, do you think we need to have a culture officer to set the tone, to enforce certain rules? And
yeah, I believe I mean, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that culture is everything, right? First of all, just to say from a personal perspective and also in Web3, I believe that culture is everything. If you understand culture, then you're able to grow and scale, right? So,
Oh no.
Oh no.
Y'all can hear me, right?
Okay, before we get him back, so Will goes.
Yeah, I was gonna repeat. I'm sorry. The last part.
the the culture, like, should we
Oh yeah.
appoint a
So
culture
I
officer?
think whatever can keep your vision the most consistent, and your everything the most consistent. For us, it's me, right now, and kind of keeping that consistent word and consistent. This is our visions, what we're building. Because I've seen at conferences and stuff, I've seen different projects have different people on stage, and it can turn you off of the project if the right person isn't up there. Really, if they're not ingrained, they're not consistent with everything you've been hearing over the years, especially if you're personally invested in that project or something, right? So I think for us, it's me kind of keeping that consistent vision and word and everything on social media. And then really we have a lot of kind of OG community members that are reinforcing that. People ask questions in Telegram, and you can see some of these guys that have been with us for a couple of years. They're helping, especially in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping. It's coming from around the world, and they're helping answer stuff, especially if there's concern. Sometimes it's not just a question; it's like it's a problem. And people are stepping in for me. So I think that can, as long as everything's consistent, your community members will help keep that consistent wording and vision kind of going. But I would say, it depends on the project. Just don't put someone up there that's going to kind of turn people off and turn you away and kind of blurry the vision.
No, I mean, for us,
Do you?
go ahead, John.
I have a question, Will. Do you like what I'm sensing with you guys is that you are having some culture advocates, right? Do you give them some sort of a pep talk, a guideline, saying how you should approach, or you
Yeah,
just leave
basically,
it to them?
I've kind of like steered a couple conversations before, but it's fortunately it hasn't gotten anywhere negative or any kind of down any crazy rabbit holes or anything wild that I've had to really address. It's mainly people that are frustrated with IoTeX token prices or whatever it is, or us not moving fast enough and haven't launched our yeah, just
When
regular
moon
stuff,
question.
or stuff, so but the main thing that really helps is just the technical onboarding stuff, or like if new users haven't got the rewards yet, you know, that different things if they don't know when the rewards come in each week. So for us, it's been okay. I haven't really had to personally address anything or steer any ambassadors. We don't have quote ambassadors yet. I've got a few shortlisted that have reached out over the years or over time, but haven't had to make anything concrete with anybody. So, and I think
I'll go to Robin, and then after we'll come back to Warlord on.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
for us,
Robin, please.
I feel like, again, this goes back to Mike, because Mike is really the one that is in the, manage the community. He's awesome. We have super clear rules. I think that, it's not like a server where you're more than welcome to complain, tell us what we're doing poorly, but like, don't talk shit about other projects. Don't talk shit, just don't be toxic. And we're really enforcing the rules. Like Mike is super good at enforcing the rules. Our other community members like Sean and Chris and Max, they're enforcing the rules really, really well. And I think you just have to stick with those rules. You can't let some people get away with something. I think it just gets out of hand. But I think with that, I think the kind of like the community and the culture comes from how we act. So like, I don't think you can't force people to act a certain way. If you act, I think, the right way and you do the right things, I think the culture follows. I mean, and we have issues like, now with the new devices from Hyfix, we had an issue with a small percentage of the devices with an issue. Obviously, people are super frustrated. And for us, it's the difficult thing is, since we don't manufacture or sell them, we are wanting updates. So we're trying to keep people updated. But again, the community team are super, super good. And then we have a helpful community overall. So yeah, I think we don't have to enforce anything. We enforce the rules of the Discord server, which are pretty common sense ones. And then after that, I think it's based on how we act that the culture will follow.
Yeah, I really liked how Robin had put it. Like, some of these cultures are like spillover of how you act internally, and then community members sense that, and some sort of feel like it's a continuation of that process, right? And carry it forward. So yeah, so I'll go to Warlord, and then before I come to Harper. But if provided that Harper doesn't forget what he want to say. So otherwise, like, I think we should give it to Harper. Harper, you.
Okay. Hopefully you guys do agree with what Robin was saying. I do think that, especially when you've got community moderators, it's helpful to put and to have an FAQ base where common questions, foundational. I don't want to be too heavy-handed and I want that organic, but I do want the sound bites, and that's helpful. So I like to put those rails in a knowledge base or FAQ.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think slowly and slowly, most of the projects will have these, as and when we are moving out of these, what Will was saying, that ambassadors, right? When we are moving out of these, like, I keep telling in most of my podcasts, that you got to just focus on those 300 close, that's it, right? Focus on these 300, and everything just builds around it, right? And once you manage to do that, whether you call them ambassadors or culture officers or enforcers or whatever it is, right? Or advocates. So yeah, so dark virus, we found dark virus, and one, at least we tick the box. So we have one person right now. So 299 to go, and he also is leaving. Yeah, so I'll go to Warlord. Yes, please.
Yeah, like I was saying, I wouldn't say that there is a need for a cultural officer per se, but what I say is that everything ripples down, right? It's all about what's going on there at the top is what would ripple down through the other participants in the community and obviously the whole project at large. So what's going on at the top is what would actually be rippled and showed down to what the project becomes, right? So if the top is at the top, if there's a good culture, if there's an understanding culture, knowing what to build, when to build, understanding how to even take feedback, how to implement feedback, how to put that into the general vision. If that is understood, then it's going to ripple out and it's going to show. So I would say, like Robin said, having Mike came into being just cause like of who he is and who and what he's building, right? I mean, obviously having to work with a team, right, that understand and you understand the vision, able to understand and also distribute that. I think that that is what covers the whole culture officer, right? There isn't, I wouldn't say there's a need for it, but I would say everything that happens at the top is just what's going to ripple down through the community and then the whole project at large, right? So yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. As long as we enforce certain things, but from community perspective, dark virus, completely from, not from the builder's perspective, from the other side, how do you view it?
Can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
How about now?
No.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Now?
Oh, yeah, hell
Hey,
you.
hey.
Hey.
Oh, well, so I had so much more to say. So really quick before I lose everything, the NFT thing, NFTs are amazing. They're actually one the things that actually help onboarding Web 2 and Web 3. I mean, look at Doodles. They went with McDonald's or whatnot. They're starting to get stuff out there. They all have, an important value. And then let's see the tokens. Excuse my language. Fuck a token. Um, You're not.
Did you just blew this guy?
Did I what?
Yeah,
What? No, no.
you blew our team member out of the screen. Okay, no,
Well,
go.
man,
Sorry, it
geez,
was a joke.
you interrupted me like I interrupt you all the time, DGen. Yeah, tokens. Robin, you're doing amazing thing with and not launching a token. It's been testnet for I don't care. I really don't. I see what you're bringing to the table, and I don't care. I have so many testnet tokens and fake tokens. I really don't care. I see what y'all are building, and I believe in it. And your community, like I said, is everything. You know, Mike's been with you since day one, Robin. He is patient. He's caring. So everybody should have a Mike in their community for sure. Passionate, always there to help. Understanding. Um, but we're all building, like I say every week, we're all building. You're supposed to make mistakes. I'll be mad if you don't make mistakes. And don't follow suit. Go your own way. Do different. Be spontaneous. You're messing with degens, you know. Something new, shiny. Ooh, look, a new token. Oh, ooh, a new DePIN project. It's just, you know, have faith in your community, lean on your community, and yeah. Go ahead. I lost where I was going.
Dude, check what William is saying.
Oh,
Check.
he's driving. Don't look.
Aren't you supposed to be working, dude?
Always working, always working. How do you think I'm number one in all these projects, bruh? Look at all the leaderboards right now. Who's on the top? Me. You can go look at any of them
Matthew
right
says the
now. Go
beauty of
look right now. 375, XYO Coin App, all of them. Look who's number one, baby. Because I don't stop. Speaking of which, I got to go do this. So continue, sir.
All right, before we let you go, everybody, please, parting thoughts and then any advice for the founders like me if we have to do
Yes,
something
yes.
different.
Keep building. Keep building. Listen to community, but I mean, in the end, you're building something amazing. So you're going to have to, change your model sometimes to go with, what the businesses, want to buy this information. But you've always been, as long as you're transparent with your community, most of them will understand. You know, don't get frustrated. You can't make everybody happy, and just keep building amazing shit. Love Virus.
Love it.
William says the beauty of trucking job.
When Tesla semi.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's so beautiful from Matthew. Mad respect, keeping the country running and innovating while on the move. Beautiful.
Very nice.
It's amazing. Yes. Who goes?
I think,
Robin.
I think Darth Vader said it well. I mean, I think it's just like, don't forget who got you to where you are, which is the community. If you build a community-based project, when you screw something up, tell everyone you screwed it up and how you're going to fix it. Don't try to hide a screw up. I think just own it. I think it's important. Communicate why things are happening, and don't overpromise.
Nailed it all. Community is everything. Keep it transparent. Stay honest. Your community is going to get you to the finish line, however many years down the road that it takes you to get there. And that's, without them, especially in this world, and as each new project comes on and dilutes the atmosphere and takes the attention away and everything, it's all going to come down to who helped you get there in the first place. And y'all nailed it. That initial 300. Those are going to be your champions. They're going to take you the farthest.
Beautiful. Who goes next?
I would want Harper to go out of respect.
Yeah, Harper.
Sorry.
I think he's frozen. You should go ahead.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, parting was because I mean, yeah, this is my okay. I heard feedback from Harper.
Okay, Harper, please go ahead.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, it's out. But yeah, I mean, since this was my second time on here, right? And I said next time I'll be on here, we'll be giving free decentralized VPN. So free DVNs for anyone who could get into our see the I mean anyone who could get into the Netepio Discord community and have proof of attending this live stream would get like around 6 months of yeah our decentralized VPN Erebros, and then yeah we'll also give you some NFTs as well. So excited for that. If we could have a screenshot of this call and get into the Netepio Discord, then yeah we'd set it up easy peasy. And yeah, I mean, great discussion with everyone. I feel like culture is everything. Culture is why we are here, and culture is what keeps us building, right? Regardless of the case, regardless of if it's bull or beer, right? Understanding the culture is key into building a strong foundation because if the foundation be destroyed, I mean, nothing comes of that, right? So yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Guys, I can keep talking to you, but then we have to have some more episodes with some new topics, and we will get to also hear some of the updates from Robin. He's itching to announce that sometime, so we will give that
yeah.
privacy space. Uh, and yeah, I can see some purple hair. I know.
It
Hey,
need some
Robin,
orange.
Robin, you remember like a year and a half ago when I was trying to give you those domains? Remember,
Oh yeah,
remember when
yeah,
I was
yeah. I
begging?
remember.
I still got those, bro. I'm gonna sell
Oh
them to
yeah.
scammers if you don't take them. Oh my gosh.
I will take it. Dark Virus actually reached out to me one day and he bought up all kinds of domains for Wingbits. And I was like, oh my God,
Oh,
thank you. Yeah.
I
Because
did the
now
same thing
we're,
with Nadix and stuff too. Well, either I get them or scammers get them. So
if you can find out who's trying to fake sell a fake Wingbits Telegram account, let me know. I think they're selling it for like $2,800
Yeah.
or something. I'm like, what's going
Wow.
on?
oh man,
That's when
Yeah.
you
how
know
much
you've
Scam,
made
longer
it,
is it?
Robus.
scammers is the worst part of the Web3.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh
and they have this thing.
gosh.
It's super
Somebody was.
frustrating because, like, they you don't have to be in the server. They have someone scouting the server, and then they DM people from outside the server. So it's like it's super hard to counteract. Super difficult. Yeah,
So difficult. These scammers are so much, and they're so
yeah.
innovative.
Mm.
So they almost got one of my friend and to uh, asked them to send 2 ETH. He's like, Yogi's in trouble. Let me just send. What happened, right? That, and before he's sending, he's like, wait a minute. Yogi's not gonna ask me. He will call me. Right? He's like, send me now, right? So there must
Yeah,
be
I almost got
some.
scanned by a pretend VC because what they do is you have a VC, pretend VC that has the whole profile. They'll reach out and want to have a call. So you book a regular call through like Calendly or whatever. Then you join the call, and right as you join, a few minutes in, they're like, "Hey, we can't get in. Here's a new link. Can you join us here?" And that, yeah,
Oh,
and they
that.
essentially bank on a founder being like, "Oh my God, I don't want to miss this important VC call." So you just click the link and you don't think, and essentially it's like, they try to get you to install something through the terminal, and they would just take over your whole computer. It's the same thing with the Zoom hack, where they trick you to give the screen or remote access to your computer. It's just all over the place. So you have to be super careful.
A few days back, somebody pinged me, and then he says like, "Hey, I can't connect. I'm from China." I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
you know, that I signed with the Belt and Road Initiative. I
Yeah.
know China more than you know probably. So after that, he's like, so which one you want me to ping through you WeChat? And then he ran away like
Yeah.
immediately.
It's you got to stay vigilant, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
We
yeah, just to go off what Robin said, because I think I've experienced where we've had to like share a screen. So I want to know more knowledge on that, just know like how do we tackle that, right? Because I was in a meeting, right? I was in a Zoom meeting, like you said. So like they asked us to share a screen, and then there was some glitches going on, right? So I mean, what are the like potential risks from that experience?
Well, essentially, from what I understand it, like they will essentially request remote access, and it's not super clear. So if you click OK, like if you have a Mac, it pops up because you have to. I don't know how Windows work because I haven't used Windows in so long. But
Yeah.
so you have to grant them remote access. It happened to my friend. Essentially, he clicked, computer just went black. So I guess if it happens, like break it, turn off internet, wrap it in aluminum foil. I don't know. But yeah, so they get full access to everything,
Yes.
right? So then the screen just goes black and they kind of take it over.
Damn.
We have a toss-up between both William, and we'll have to find out who is a scam and who's not.
Man, I need to meet William. I've seen him at a couple events, but he was always on stage or too tied up. So.
But actually, on a point, I'm actually I got not for this call, but I got a separate tablet just to do calls. And so if they take that, it means nothing. Because like if use a password manager, on my phone I have like every app has a face ID to open the app. If it's like so I got so paranoid because our Twitter account got hacked too when we were in Dubai, and we took us forever to get access back. Twitter was super unhelpful, so I'm just super paranoid.
Yeah, I mean, this is happening to most of the projects. How attentive you can be because you're so busy with so many things. Like it's almost.
I think the easiest thing is just like password manager. Don't use the same password everywhere, and get like a separate device for calls with people you don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Cool.
All right, guys, thank you so much. And it was wonderful. And the recording will be there, and then we will try to also get some clips out of it and send it to you, so that you can post, you can engage. So I look forward to get some more updates and see you in next episode. Thank you, William. William has been like both Williams. This William that's awful, Robin. Insane that stuff like that happens. Oh man. And you are not experiencing this because you just said fundraising and you see what's happening after that. Say, hey, I'm fundraising.
It's mainly people reaching out saying, "Congrats! Can I sell you this thing you don't need?" But really nice to meet all of you. I really appreciate the invite.
Likewise.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.